Today. I have. Hey, welcome to Fempreneur True Confessions podcast. I always act like I'm like so surprised we're live.
Right? Like, hey, we're live. You're the one that hits the button too.
And there's a countdown. So it's
Right.
like, but anyway. Hi, welcome to Fempreneur True Confessions podcast.
We're starting this week off the same way as usual in crazy mode. So, hi everyone, I'm Laura. As you all know, I own a virtual assistant and project management agency.
Maybe they don't know.
I'm Oda. Well, maybe they don't. Yes, we maybe have new people. So I'm Oda, or other duties as assigned, which is corporate. So, and I own a virtual assistant project management agency that helps entrepreneurs, business owners behind the scenes get all those tasks done, have their own little Odas around to get all the things done and thrives in confidence so that they can change the world in a massive way.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about today too. I'm psyched today. It's been a good day already, even though there's a hurricane coming again.
I know, again.
But I'm Angelique. Yes, I'm Angelique with Lady Power Solutions. Powerhouse Solutions works with female entrepreneurs that are already on fire, lighting up the world with their passion, their drive. They're on a mission, and we help them achieve that mission in the most authentic way possible. And Laura and I do really similar things. We both have project management agencies. We both have a team that, supports us and our clients. But we work with each other. I work with her. She works with me. I mean, we do the supporting, collaborating thing. And it's been so fun. Yeah. We just had our 2-year anniversary.
Yeah. Yes.
2 years. Just for the podcast.
Yeah, for the podcast. For us, it's been 3.5. 3.5
yeah.
Of really being connected and growing, and this kind of all just came about with that. It's that we needed support. We needed to be around other women that just really were on the same path, that same mindset. So being able to be like, hey, Angelique, I really need help and I need to be able to trust someone. Can that be you? Are you willing? And then it just morphed into so much more. It's being able to be those business besties and those collaborators where true friendship has formed, and we do so much more in our conversations than just business. We know each other kind of crazy lives. Like, I think you know more about me than anyone at this point.
Well, and that's what I was just going to say was I've been reflecting quite a bit. We did a vision board workshop for the quarter last week, and I was reflecting and then doing some reflecting again this morning. But in reflecting on us, when we met, I needed you, you needed me.
Mm-hmm.
And now I need you. Or over the past couple of years, I'm like, I needed you.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're kind of helping each other.
Right.
But there was a space of time the past 2 years where I was like, I had an accident and I just couldn't do what I could normally do.
Yeah.
And you were there. And, but when we first met, you were like, you were in a place of healing and restoring and, all the things. And we kind of swapped places, and now we're kind of both evening out. It's just really cool, the journey we've been on together. And that's what we want to model and show other women, is that you can do that. You can be in a place where you need them, and they can be in a place where they need you. And that doesn't make you a failure, a drain, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's why we started the podcast, is because we want other women to see that you don't have to compete. You can help each other and collaborate. And that's where the real power is, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's what the podcast is about, is just sharing other women's stories where they're doing those kinds of things. So we don't feel so alone. And yes, I struggled with that too, but also, and as they say now, this is the lesson I learned from it. And now someone's about to, maybe they're supposed to go into this struggle. And now you're saying, hey, I did too. And this is what happened. This worked, this didn't. And they get some additional insight and gain some real value from the conversations. That's kind of the point, right?
Absolutely. Love
Cool.
it. It
And
is.
we have a fabulous guest with us today.
We were talking animals before the show, so you got to keep me on track because I'm the animal person.
I do try, but I often go down the rabbit hole with you. That's the thing.
Yes, absolutely. So joining us today is Ashley and I didn't even ask before this.
Oh, we forgot to ask how to say her last name.
I know it's a tongue twister. Pakulski. Just say it fast, simple.
And you are a Canadian-born mompreneur coach, best-selling author, and single mom, as well as a proud fur baby mom. Ashley's journey overcoming addiction and trauma led her to discover the transformative power of personal development and self-healing practices. Passionate about guiding mompreneurs, she created a signature framework empowering them to step into their power, show up confidently, and reach their next level of success in both business and life. We can't wait to hear about Ashley's journey to helping mompreneurs overcome their dreams, overcoming their demons and turning their dreams into reality. We knew I was going to screw up somewhere in there.
I was like, wow, she's doing so great.
Right. I love it.
Well, welcome.
Ashley.
Thank you, ladies, so much for having me on. I'm so excited. You guys are so amazing. Like, I'm like backstage here. I was like cracking up and like in awe moments, and you guys are awesome.
And we did get to talk about fur babies. You guys got to talk about fur babies. I didn't.
She's got an odd fur baby, everyone. It's an unusual mixture of animal. I don't know if you want
German Shepherd and Corgi.
There you go. So
I went, her?
I was trying to figure out, like, even me and my mom were like trying to figure out like exactly like how did that happen? Like who was who like at that time too? Like German Shepherd, Corgi kind of thing. But he is so precious. He is so loving. Mind of his own, but so good.
Oh yeah, give him that. Well, welcome and thank you.
Yeah, welcome. And so some of the things that we were talking about before, and I kind of just want to pick up, you know how it is with girlfriends get together and they start talking and they just like, you think we're jumping from one thing to another, but really like our brains are all connecting the dots. But especially men, but some people be standing on the outside going, wait, what? How'd you get from here to here? But when you've been in conversation with someone before, or for, after a little while, you start, pinging off of each other. So I'm just going to jump in. And one of you shared a story about one of the most challenging things that you've ever faced. And, it could be business or personal. And you have a really, really powerful story.
Thank you. Yeah. It's overcoming that addiction and trauma since a young age. And it was a roller coaster ride. I felt very lost, broken. Somewhere deep down inside of me, there was always that little hope of something better. And I remember my late friend who passed away was saying always too, like, the grass isn't greener on the other side. And I just had this belief in me that there's something better and greater. But after going through all the things I went through and then having my daughter, I was faced looking in the mirror, and I had to overcome these challenges to grow to who I am, which I'm actually very grateful for all the things that I went through, because it made me who I am today and how I can speak about it and help others.
Mm-hmm. That pesky mirror. Love it or hate it, find out. But that pesky mirror always comes into play.
So you went through this process of healing and mindset work, right? Mm-hmm. And you felt stuck. But after doing the work, you had to let go of some things, right? And find this. And I just saw this on social media. It was a wonderful message. And I even had to share it. But it was a post about presenting the right angle on Facebook, right? We're taking the pictures from our good side. We only post pictures that we feel put us in a good light, right? Like makes us like, oh, I look really good in that outfit or whatever. Oh, I've done my makeup today. I need to take some pictures and post them instead of posting the fact that I don't wear makeup the majority of the time.
Mhm.
And, half the time my hair is not down, it's up because it's hot, y'all. Okay. And it's in my way. Um, and just this, it's almost like a persona that we present on social media versus who we really are. Um, which, and that what we're saying is see how happy we are, see how successful we are.
Mhm.
But if we aren't happy in here with ourselves, it doesn't matter what we present, we're still miserable.
Mhm.
And it's just how powerful it is to show that side of us that feels broken, or
Mhm.
maybe it is broken. Why are we afraid to say that we broke?
Yeah.
Because honestly, you've heard that clay pot analogy, right? When a clay pot gets broken, they would fix the crack with gold, and that
Mhm.
would make the pot more valuable. Um, and in my own life, I've seen too where the things that I went through, especially when I felt like somebody's picking on me,
Mhm.
they're being a bully, or, but it made me self reflect and realize, wait a minute, they're right. That is, I could do better. And so
Mhm.
I did better.
Mhm. Yeah.
Or it took me down a path that benefited me in the end,
Mhm.
even though they were trying to be a bully or just whatever.
Mhm.
The outcome and how we travel through that challenge, as one of our guests pointed out, you know, instead of it being a struggle, it's a challenge that we overcome. We're
Mhm.
not just struggling just because, right? We're
Yeah.
struggling because there's a challenge. And so framing it that way, I think, has been beneficial too. Have you found that in your circumstances and what you went through?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think mindset is like the biggest piece in it all too, right? Because when I felt broken, I felt so lost. I felt like I didn't even want to live no more. And, I was just in a dark, dark place many times. Like sometimes things were going great and the culprit was, the addiction part as well, because that really brings you down. And looking at things in a different perspective as this is a challenge that I'm overcoming, right? And I always say this, like, don't be in the problem, but be in the solution.
I like
What is
that.
the solution? Like, what is the message here that I need to be doing? Like, even if there's people in our lives that come to us, and I explain this to my daughter, I'm like, sometimes it's not the people. I'm like, it's us internally. What's the message in there that we need to work through? Like how you mentioned too, like maybe there's something here about me that I need to do and fix and to move forward, right? Or how I handle the situation, respond versus reacting. But yeah, mindset has been a big foundation piece of it because I went through counselor, psychologist, and here I was given, medication and this and that, and I respect all that. But once I start peeling the layers, once I started going through like even my mind, like the thoughts and the beliefs about myself, and
Mhm.
understanding where all this unworthiness came from, and
Mm,
knowing that, I, d- I don't want to label myself as a victim, right? I'm a
right.
warrior. I'm someone that
Oh, yeah.
went
Yes.
through this. And, instead of, yes, it took me a little bit like detours and all that stuff. And I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. And again, like I am very grateful. I forgive. And
Mhm.
I'm grateful because I can actually stand here and to speak with someone that's going through that and help them because I understand, I know, rather than just reading from a book and really not understanding. And, it's like a whole roller coaster ride of emotions kind of thing. But yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
find it interesting because we say all the time, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And there's things in my life I never would. What I do wish is that people are willing to grow and see that. So there are times where, you know, that's, it's not wishing the bad things on people, but wishing the catalyst, the whatever's that's going to push that up for them and make that big change, especially when you're around someone you love and you care for them. I'm always wishing, what is going to be that one thing that's going to help you see what I see? What's going to happen to bring you to that, to then bring you out of that, you know, and into so much more light and bright. So it's very interesting because, again, like I said, we don't wish the negative on people, but I do wish for the one thing, the catalyst that's going to show you who you truly are, your strength, your warrior, your ability to change and morph and become that butterfly and all of that. So it's very interesting because it's not wishing the bad, but it is wishing the change. It is wishing the thing.
Well,
You
and
know?
that challenge, that catalyst is different for everyone. But what I've seen over and over is so often, like you, Ashley, motherhood, right? All of a sudden, it's not just about us anymore. And that's something that I think it's inherent, but it's also conditioned. This, you know, putting our children before ourselves, right? And your story reminds me, one, of my own daughter, my own daughter, who's a single mom, or has been a single mom for many years, over a decade now. And I couldn't imagine it. Like, it just seems so hard to, like, I've had some challenges in my life, don't get me wrong. But
that's one of the hardest ones, I think.
like, I just, that just feels so overwhelming to me. So I can empathize with the urge to give up in that circumstance and admire women who don't. But another story it reminds me of is I can see her, Glennon Doyle. So her turning point was she got pregnant. She was an alcoholic and she got pregnant and she's like, okay, I have to make a decision here. The decision was get clean and keep the baby, right? Get married, do the right thing. Is that where she ended up? Is that where she's at today? Nope. Nope. Very different. But in a great way though. Like, she's
like, that's okay.
oh my gosh. Like, she's this huge activist, philanthropist, and she's just someone that I admire greatly. Not because of her success, but her journey. You know, not where she's ended up, because her journey isn't over yet, but what she's done in that, during that transition, like during those times. Like, y'all, she faced some hard stuff. She really did. Like, and she still does this day. But another person that I thought of when you were talking, this worthiness, the sense of being worthy, is Jamie Kern Lima. I think I'm saying it right. I heard her on Dear Gabby not too long ago. She's got a new book out called Worthy. And just her whole idea, worthy, it challenges the current ideas about worthiness and where it comes from, why we don't feel worthy, and that kind of thing. Highly recommend. I haven't gotten it and read it yet, but it's on my list. It's on my list.
Absolutely.
And I think she, I don't remember her story. I want to say she's the one that started, she had a baby and she was making her own jewelry and she started walking door to door to sell it. And she finally, like, she's on the brink, right? I think this is the right person. It may be a totally different person, but she was about to give up. And this lady said, you know what? I'm doing a show next weekend. Can I get 6 of each of these? You know? Yeah. And that's what launched her business. But she, like, had her kid in a stroller or like a backpack or something with her jewelry going door to door. seeing if anybody would sell it in their store. And it was just a neat story. I might have her confused with someone else, but still, the impact is the same. Okay.
Right.
Powerful.
Yes. Was that, I mean, being a single mom, how has that impacted your journey and your story?
So it was hard because I was there as a mother doing the mother stuff and going through my challenges, still raising this little human that depended on me. And I had this guilt that me and her father, we didn't last, which I know now is like a good thing. Like,
Yes.
I'm happy
Yeah.
that he's happy and I'm not angry and stuff like that. Like, I want them to keep their little circle and stuff like that. But I'm happy it worked out that way, and where I'm going and the healing and the relationship that me and my daughter have, because it's me and her. So we're a team. And me finding myself while raising my daughter, it was really impactful because yes, she's seen some things, but I always explain to her, like, mommy's healing, mommy's working through this, mommy's not perfect, mommy knows that she's doing this, and this is why this, and I'm gonna do this to help myself and all this stuff. And she's grown into this resilient girl. The thought that I had of her having childhood trauma because of her father not being fully present, but that's not the case. Like, she has her own peace and forgiveness, and the way she's so resilient, or things that she goes through in her own personal high school life now, and the way she handles things with grace and sass. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So going through my experience too, it was hard because I turned that stress and overwhelm to alcohol. So it was the weekend, and I was going to clean and I needed a break from society, and she was at her dad's place. I could drink, and that was the worst because I was depleting my energy. I was hurting my body. I was putting myself into situations I should not have been in situations, and it really showed me that I'm not that person. And it really showed me that there's more to life. And even raising her, like showing her that there's more to life. Like, you don't need to sit. We all have emotions and we have things we're going to go through. Life isn't just like a roller coaster, up, up, up.
Yeah.
And everything's perfect.
It's more like this.
Yeah.
That crash does have to come at some point.
You're holding yourself up and you're crawling, and sometimes and pulling everything down with you and trying to hold your head above the water, but you have the tools and the support, right? That's the main thing. And knowing that, and this is something that I've learned along the way. And it took me a long time after I made my peace and I stopped drinking and smoking and all of that.
What was the catalyst for you? What was that moment?
That moment is that the moment actually was the last moment that I had is when I did stop drinking. It was for a year. Okay. And thoughts started coming into my head saying, I can have a little here and there. People take a year break and then, they start drinking and they're great. And so it was working out for me for a little bit until I lost my friend, a good friend that I lost contact with. And it was an overdose, and it was a traumatic story because how everything ended for her and her family, and there was a guilt there, but I started drinking, and it was my daughter's confirmation, and that's the day that I found out. And I knew if I wasn't drinking there, I would have handled the situation differently, but I already had alcohol in my system, and the alcohol took over. And then after, I ended up drinking more, and then the anger, and then the all this stuff, emotions started coming. And then I just sat there and I was like, why am I getting so angry? She wouldn't want this. Why am I hurting myself? That if she died with an overdose, her mom died because of this, and people are dying, like a pandemic with addiction and mental health, all that stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, I do not want to die like this. My daughter needs a mother, right? And her mother. And that was that like wake up moment. I'm like, no, I was a little embarrassed. I messaged my sponsor. I went back to the meetings, and here I am, another 1 year, 6 months, or 5 months. I thought it was going to be a year and 6 months sober. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy, and life happens. But I've learned not to stress. Honestly, I surrender and I let it go. And of course, I'm human. Sometimes things can sneak up on you, but it's not stressing, because when you're in that energy of like everything always works out, even when you have that little fear and you still surrender, because it really does work out. At the end of the day, everything works out. So that was crazy.
Right. It's like it isn't brain surgery, right? Or rocket science or anything like that. Most of the time, nothing is life threatening that we're getting all riled up about, stressing out over. So when you feel that coming on, do you have a tool or trick that you use to help you recenter and recalibrate?
Yeah, so I have morning routines and I switch them up. Sometimes, maybe it was like a Saturday, I missed this, but I do a little bit of affirmations. But I have my morning routines and I always start my day with prayer and end my day with prayer. But I do like breath work, meditation, visualization. I'm working with my coach and she actually got me this cool exercise to do, and I'm doing it. And it's like, like listening to your voice, right? Over on a repeat kind of thing. And it's beautiful. And journaling too as well. So it's like having those tools and seeing what I pickpocket as well. At nighttime, I'm always listening to affirmations. I don't have a partner. So it's on there. My dog's probably getting something wired into his brain too.
Yeah.
I love it. That's
like,
one
out. He's like, oh, this lady.
positive dog. Yeah.
And I think it's funny that I was raised by a single parent, and people will say, well, I don't want my kids to see. Oh my God, I can't put them through this. And oh, it only needs to be the best. And we set our kids up. We saw it all. My mom didn't hide a damn thing. She was just there. She was certifiable as it gets. And it was fine. And people are like, well, such all that trauma you went through and all the things. Had I not gone through all those things, I wouldn't have known about the generational curses that we were breaking along the way with my son and my nieces and nephews and other family, and even the work that we continue to do. Is I wouldn't know that hiding that stuff was such a bad thing. And no, we don't want to traumatize our children, but if there's not a reference point where, if your daughter didn't see something or somebody didn't see something, then they'd be like, oh, well, I never really experienced that. And then they would have no idea that their parent was going through this. They have that aspect of being able to overcome that and what happens. And so I think we get kind of stuck on protecting our children from all of the terrible things that are happening. And I'm like, no, we didn't protect our son. He was very well aware, especially when he was, as he was getting older, of the things that created all of what now is. And just being able to have him be in a state of, this is what's happened. I know you're angry, but this is the truth and the reality. So we're going to hand that to you, and then we'll work through how that goes, because your anger and your processing is coming from a place of you not understanding the whole picture. And him being angry at certain people and certain things, it was that. And I was like, as parents, we're going to screw this up because we keep trying to hide. My husband and I were both raised by single mothers. And, it was their wanting to hide things from us. And then my mom being like, no, screw it, I can't. She couldn't, even if she wanted to at that point. And same with my husband. So it was the idea of, why are we hiding so many things? Just let it be. It's going to be out. Yes, he's going to be pissed at us for certain things and not for other things. But with the bigger picture and the understanding that we're not leaving it like this, we're fixing it or we're working through it, then that was the bigger part. I think kids get more frustrated when they realize, okay, that's going on, but now you're not doing anything about it. You've told me this whole thing and you're just sitting in it with no real idea of the future. And I think that's very interesting, because I think we try to hide so much from our kids, and they're not traumatized by what happened. I think they're truly traumatized by not knowing the whole story and how to deal with it from the big picture perspective, which is really difficult. So I'm glad your daughter got to see that.
Well, and we all have trauma, right? Like I didn't think I had childhood trauma at all. like I love my mom. I still do. Um, and but there were things that happened to me as a child, and until I started working with a trauma coach, didn't realize that like I went through trauma. Like it wasn't intentional,
Mhm.
right? But at the same time, um, it doesn't mean that it didn't cause damage, because it did.
Mhm.
And but I had never resolved it. I had never dealt with it. I never even admitted, because I really didn't see it that way. Um, but it did,
Mhm.
and just because it isn't intentional, or just because we don't realize it happened, doesn't mean that it didn't affect us. And we all have that. We all, like, I heard something, I don't remember where or when, I don't know. Like, we're all mentally ill. Come on. We
On
all,
some
we
level.
all
And if
have
you're not, you're
something.
boring. Come join the mentally ill side, because we are a great group of freaking people. I'm
Like,
telling
I
you.
mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that are completely physically healthy, but they get a
Mhm.
checkup every year. Why is mental health any different?
Mhm.
It shouldn't be, but
Yeah.
for whatever reason, and coaching. I mean, coaching in the corporate industry, if you've got a coach, what'd you do wrong?
Mhm.
Right? There's this stigma of,
Mhm.
if you have a coach, then you must be doing something wrong. You're broken. It needs to be fixed, instead of, and I think the mindset has shifted around this a lot since
Mhm.
COVID, especially.
Yeah.
But this idea that, I am super glad. I am so proud of you that you have a coach,
Mhm.
you know, that
Yeah.
you're working with somebody. We, we should all be working with somebody.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like,
Everyone needs a coach.
right? Nobody knows everything.
Mhm. Well, and the hiding of, well, oh, you went to therapy, or oh, you had
Right.
this, and I'm like, yeah, I wear that proudly. Like, thank God I went to therapy. I can't imagine if I hadn't dealt with some of the things, and not all of it, but at least some of the things that were dealt with. Like, what would it be like if I hadn't? One, physically, mentally, how much worse would it have been? And that's when people have the breaks, when they have those psychotic breaks and things go to shit, and you're hearing, well, we never would imagine that about that person.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mhm.
they were hiding. If somebody's life seems so perfect all the time and there never seems to be anything behind the scenes, question it, ask them, maybe pull some of that in, because there's always something. Nobody has ever avoided trauma in all ways in their life.
Mhm.
How we deal with it is all completely different, but nobody's avoided trauma in anything. I mean,
Right.
even if you went through COVID in any form or fashion, that was trauma all the way through, whether you recognize
Yes.
it or not.
Yes.
So it's just that kind of thing where we're so scared to be like, oh no, I'm fine. I handle things great, or I do this, and I'm like, okay, but it's not a bad thing. Me and my therapist, I loved her, and she was my mirror. And I didn't always love her. It was not always a pleasant thing when she's like, oh, really? So what does that say? And I'd be like, well, that was somebody else. Nope, that was you. And she'd hold that mirror.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I hate that pesky mirror. And then I finally got great with this. So then it was like, okay, hold that mirror up, because whatever I'm not seeing, I need to hurry up and get through, because I'm not going to see it on my own necessarily, unless something more traumatic happens or something more aggressive happens. So it's like, instead of that, just tell me what it is, what you just heard in that, and then I can focus and get okay with, oh yeah, I'm going to be pissed for a second, but I do recognize I wasn't the happiest, most pleasant thing to hear, but I do recognize where that would come across and where I would be
Yeah.
doing that, and what do I do to fix
Yeah.
that, or not. I can
And
choose.
having that network of people around you
Mhm.
is important, that people that you trust, so that
Mhm.
when they do say, hold up, I think maybe, you know, um, so for you, Ashley, you're young mom, single mom, what advice would you give someone in a similar position as you?
I would say what comes to my heart now is stop hiding, stop masking it, stop that everything has to be perfect in your little control, and be you. Find yourself. Love the flaws. Like, we're so like fixated to, and this is me, and this is actually something just recently that happened to me. I went to confessions yesterday at church, and I started talking to the priest. I'm like, well, and I started saying, like, because one thing I'm working on is not taking things too personally. And ever since getting a car, I'm finding this like road rage comes. I'm like, yes, dude, you're in my way. And then my daughter, she's like, Mom, I think that person looks like, they're about to cry or something. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I felt so bad. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, you never know if someone is going through something bad or whatever. I'm like, I really got to work on this. So I'm just like trying to be with love. And anyways, I'm talking and I'm saying, and this is like really like, like an example part where we say like, this is something about us, but it's really looking and at your flaws too and loving your flaws. There's something, and maybe with me, it's not that I take things too personally, or it could be something that I stand my ground, like in the words, like power, like wanting to help someone. If you're in the wrong, like, here, let's make it right kind of thing. So let's kind of shift that. So shift where you're at, right? Like if there's something that you're not happy with, like, where can I change it? But learn to embrace it. Like, love yourself, forgive yourself. That is the number one thing, because we can't take back all those things that happened in the past, and what we can only control right now.
Right.
So I have another question for you. This is a little exercise that I went through, and I loved it so much. But so is there someone that you, or think about someone that you really, really admire? Maybe it's more than one person. And so who would that 1 to 3 people be?
I would say my mom, my grandma, my daughter. And my mom, we had a very relationship that was like, whoa, I thought she was my worst nightmare enemy. And, as much as like I wanted that love and whatever, but growing up and then just realizing, healing our relationship, once I started healing my stuff, I started seeing a whole shift in her. And I say she's healed. I say she's overcome it, but she had cancer, and she's like a cat with 9 lives. I'm telling you, like, they even at one point were saying to us, we're saying our goodbyes. And I said, Mom, I'm like, you just remember, if you close those eyes and you see flowers, I'm like, just think of us, the kids and everything. And, she's a strong woman. And it was her mindset and her faith. And my grandma too, most calm person. And it's true, the whole generational curse thing, whatever, I tell them, I point out, I'm like, I'm dealing with this right now because of you guys. But I'm like, in a positive way. But like my grandma was like that too, like with her emotions and stuff like that. But she's the most calmest. And me and her had a relationship, still do, so close. But with her, I found that I took out my anger, my emotions out on her. And, like we spoke about it, and I made my peace, and I say it's not her fault or anything like that. And she understands where it's coming from, all that stuff. So she, like, it's been a really healing thing. But like my daughter too, because again, like we want to protect our kids, but it's like, I think if the more we're trying to protect them and not show them, we're actually damaging them, right? Like they need to see what goes on in the real world. They need to know how to deal with things. Like there's like even little kids, like people say kids are kids, but you can teach your child like how to regulate their emotions. You can teach, like, you know what I mean? Like we're human, and I'm an adult, and I do my breath work, and sometimes whatever, but like we learn so much from them, and we can teach them so much. So I know I went a little off topic part there.
No, so that was perfect. So those 3 people: your mom, your grandma, your daughter. So what are the 3 things what is it about them that you admire so much? Just 3 things.
So my daughter, she's just fearless. She's like, Mom, let's
Okay.
just go.
Fearless.
Let's do this. My grandmother, loving and compassionate.
Loving, compassion.
And my mom, it's that strong-willed mindset, like the person that she is too. Like she,
Strong.
yeah.
Just a
Your
strong.
mom sounds like my mom.
Strong
Good
woman.
Lord. Yeah.
So those aspects, those values, those strengths that you see in them, that's what you are.
Mhm.
So we resonate with people, right? Like, so the what was the thing with your daughter? Resilient?
Resilient. Fearless
Fearless.
too.
Fearless. Fearless. You are fearless. You
Mhm.
are strong, and
Mhm.
you are loving and compassionate.
Mhm.
And those are the things that you are. It's
Mhm.
not them. You really admire those things in them
Mhm.
because those are the things you admire in yourself.
Attractive. Yes.
Powerful. Like, oh my gosh, I could cry.
But it's true.
It
People
It's
is.
look at that of
true.
themselves. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because
When we think of the reflection, people say, they're a reflection. And we keep forgetting that. Like, okay, like what I'm not liking about somebody else is probably something I'm not liking within myself as well. But what
yeah,
I'm
it does work that way as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When I'm loving
That's
something
my
in
daughter.
someone else, it's like, oh, that's something about me. Now this person, and it's that attraction. We attract what we really are and want into our lives, good and bad. You gotta take them both.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
it's really that. I love that. And I love how you just did that, Angelique. So that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good. Well, I want to give you some time to talk a little bit. You've got some freebies out there for our listeners. One is Success Made Simple for Mompreneurs. And then claim your next level success. And then you have a free guide for achieving your next level success. And we're going to link to all that in the show notes. But so tell us a little bit more about the workbook.
Yeah. So the workbook is created to overcome your limiting beliefs. So that's like the starting point of really recognizing it, becoming aware. And in there too, you have like a little section where you can also create your morning routine, and it has like some journal prompts. So it's really great. Again, I always say it doesn't matter which level you are, area in your life, right? We always have things that resurface. I remember working through things, and the next moment I'm crying, tears in my eyes. I'm like, why am I crying? I worked through this. And it's like, something always coming up. So it's a beautiful workbook to really, keep that momentum, becoming that reflection, right? It's like that self-reflection as well.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
absolutely. And one of the things that we like to do on the show is we like to have the current guest introduce next week's guest. So, Ashley, take it away.
Yes, I'm so excited to announce Diamond Drip. She is a catalyst for transformation, a beacon of inspiration, and a relentless advocate for the untapped potential that lies dormant within each of us. With her unparalleled expertise, infectious energy, and unwavering commitment to authenticity, Diamond doesn't speak or deliver a talk. She sparks revolutions within the hearts and minds of her audience, leaving them forever changed and empowered to live a life of purpose and passion.
Awesome. Yeah, we're super excited about having her on next week. And so we'll see her Monday, 12 Eastern. Lastly, our announcement this week is we have sponsorships. If you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, now I'm having trouble talking. It's
I
contagious.
don't
I'm blaming
know.
it on Laura. If you're interested in being a sponsor, and we do have free sponsorships, you can earn a free sponsorship. It just ask us how. Um, we would love to talk to you, and you can get that information just check out our website, ftcpodcast.com. All the information's out there about everything, the newsletter, the how to be a guest, all the different places we are, and how to do a sponsorship and get it for free. All right. I think that's it for announcements. Yeah.
Yeah, that was all.
This has been great. Thank you so much, Ashley, for being with us, for being willing to be vulnerable and model that for other women and sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me on. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
All righty then, guys. We'll see you next week, same time and place. And have a